You can't lock him out. He's already in. Welcome to I Hope You Suffer. Oh,
it's not wrong.
The fucking most terrifying,
the best one yet.
Most terrifying
Incredible
movie I have ever watched.
Great movie.
Honestly.
This is episode 176 of I Hope You Suffer. My name is Nathan.
I'm Kit.
I am Katie.
And this week we are talking about 1989's Hider in the House, Kit's favorite title. With
So bothersome. Hider in the House.
We're joined by a special guest, professional hider Shayne Mathis.
Hey, what's up, buttheads? I'm hiding in your house.
He was hiding here the whole time. We didn't even know.
Wow.
I've been in the background of every episode, leering.
If I had the time, I would just add like a cough to every episode now. Just something in the background. Just if you hear a creak in my house, it's probably Shayne.
It's me.
Right.
It's Xerxes.
You should just start photoshopping him into the images for the episode releases.
I'm just gonna put Shayne's face over Gary Busey's in the poster.
What's up?
Leave Gary Busey in peace.
Yeah, I've had this movie in my watch list for a while because I came across it randomly looking through somebody's filmography. I forget whose. I mean, it had to have been Gary Busey's, I'm assuming. I don't know who else I would have been looking at, but
Jake Busey.
maybe Michael McKean. And I remember seeing it and I was like, what the fuck is this movie? And then all of a sudden, I guess Prime added it, and then all of a sudden it seemed like all of these people kind of discovered it online when it came to Prime.
Got Hider fever.
And, yeah, apparently people do, because all of a sudden everybody's watching this movie. So it rules. It's very stupid and extremely too long, but Gary Busey is legitimately pretty good in it.
He's just being Gary Busey. That's why.
Honestly, yes. Very, very scary and creepy. And some of the faces that he makes legit gave me chills. I can't imagine. Running into that in the dark hallway of your house. Yes.
I want a new remake of it with modern day Gary Busey. just being extremely over the top. And
That's
Season
probably
2.
just what he's really like. Like he's actually hiding in Mimi Rogers' house right now.
I meant to look up what this came out around in his filmography. Oh, so this is a little bit in between of his kind of peak. 'Cause it's right after Predator 2 and Point Break.
Wait, this came out after Point Break?
Or wait, no, hold on. No, yeah, this came out after Lethal Weapon, before Point Break. I had it backwards. So Lethal Weapon and Bulletproof. What is active piracy? I need to see this movie. Yeah, this came out right before Predator 2 and Point Break. So I guess this is right. I don't know. Yeah, this. I guess this is right before Gary Busey fever took over the country.
Before he became Chet Stedman.
Yeah, because I mean, Predator 2, Point Break, Under Siege, The Firm, classic Rookie of the Year.
Amazing.
I like that he was at Point Break and a movie called Breaking Point. I forgot he was in Surviving the Game.
Yeah, he was like,
Yep.
wasn't he the main guy in that?
Oh yeah.
No, that was Rutger Hauer.
Oh, that's right.
He was just like one of his crew.
He was just some weird, yeah.
Because I think he might be the one that gets blown up in the house or killed like at the cabin.
That sounds right to me.
Classic Drop Zone with Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, I almost watched that the other night.
Oh yeah,
But I
it's on
didn't.
HBO Max. Oh shit, I forgot he was in Black Sheep too. What a career. Lost Highway. I would I want an entire movie where Gary Busey is the lead in a David Lynch movie.
Like Lost Highway, except instead of Bill Pullman, it's Gary Busey is the guy in the fugue state.
The Roast of Larry the Cable Guy with Gary Busey.
Wow.
I can't even imagine.
Did we know that there was a direct-to-TV sequel to Universal Soldier with Gary Busey in it?
I did.
It's a different Universal Soldier 2 and not the Goldberg one, which I did not know was a thing.
I'm pretty sure that was on like Prime at some point, and I ended up watching it.
What in the fuck?
All right. Anyway, so I assume everybody enjoyed this, minus the fact that it's almost 2 hours long.
Yes, it rocks.
Shayne, what did you think on your probably third watch?
Oh, yeah. No, I didn't watch the entire thing today. I watched a bunch of clips on YouTube from it, though. And a lot of it is just like, the clips are all just like Gary Busey being crazy, like laughing. And, I mean, I liked it. I have wanted to see this movie since the 90s, because it was one of those movies that was like ubiquitous at video rental stores. And I mean, I was indifferent to Gary Busey. It's like, oh yeah, that guy, I've seen him. He was in Silver Bullet or whatever. But like the cover art is hilarious, where he's just like peering in the window at Mimi Rogers when she's sleeping, and it's called Hide Her in the House, which is like the best movie title because that's what it's about. It's about a creep that's hiding in your house.
Literally.
He's clearly outside the house, though, on the cover, which is bothersome.
Yeah, well, there's a scene.
He has to climb up to his room, so he does not think it through very well of like the placement of this room he's hiding in.
I mean, to be fair, it kind of works out for him.
It's not called Thinker in the House.
I will watch that movie though.
Well, wasn't the house abandoned when he first went in? I thought like it was up for sale, and he was like, "Oh, I'm going to live there."
They had already bought it.
It was being built.
They just like, it's just no one's moved in yet, because he apparently finds the time and nobody. I think it's already built, because like it's not like you never see like construction people, and you would assume somebody would be like, "Oh, why is this new wall here all of a sudden?"
Yeah, the room he makes is like incredibly obvious. Like it's got a vent and shit, and then he's got the.
It's a very big room.
And he's got the light on all the time. Like it'll do a cutaway, it'll do like an external shot, and it's like the light's on, so anybody outside would be like, what is that?
He also has like a speaker from the intercom in the house in there. So like anybody that was like, if like for whatever reason was up in the attic and just somebody used the intercom,
someone used
like, what
it.
the fuck?
Yeah.
You can like hear it.
He's not he's not the best hider, that's for sure.
The combo of him and Bruce Glover in this movie is just the two fucking weirdos. Is such good casting.
Yeah, I feel like the movie was about something different, and then like over the course of shooting, Gary Busey and Bruce Glover just wouldn't stop acting weird. So they're just like, well, I guess we got to make a movie out of something.
Like, holy
man.
shit, this poor lady is just trying to live her life, and every man is just unhinged and fucking terrible around her.
They all look like the three men in her life are Michael McKean, Gary Busey, and Bruce Glover. Like,
Amazing.
you
Yeah.
could not pick three sexier men if you tried.
Oh my god.
I don't know, Katie, do you want to do like plot by plot, or?
I mean, I have the notes, so I might as well.
Yeah, just go ahead and dive into it because it's pretty simple.
Okay.
It's pretty self-explanatory
excuse you?
what happens.
the twists and turns in this movie. Yeah, okay. I just want to start by saying that I've talked about this in like previous episodes and my life in general. The idea of somebody being hiding in my house is like one of the most terrifying things that I can think of. Yeah. And if it ended up being Gary Busey, I think I would jump out a window. I can't even imagine.
I just let him stay.
Okay. So basically the very, very opening is like, we come to find out. So Gary Busey is the main character, and his name doesn't matter because it is Gary Busey. So I just called him Gary Busey. But the very beginning is basically just like kind of a montage of like his parents fighting. Like you find out it's him as a child, his parents fighting.
Very bleak opening.
Yeah,
like
it gets
beating him and shit.
This is like a pretty, when you guys suggested it and I saw the cover, I was getting kind of like old school Lifetime vibes, and it like kind of is, because there is nothing aside from Gary Busey being ridiculous. There's nothing goofy really about this movie. It's just like straight up traumatizing. So it starts off, yeah, with Gary Busey's parents having like a kind of like general domestic abuse situation, where his dad also calls him a little freak because, I don't know, his dad's mad about crayons or some shit. And then Gary Busey ends up starting a fire and murdering his parents and burning down his house.
We've all
so it's, it's fine. So
honestly, power move.
That's king shit.
I don't feel like his mom probably deserved to die, but, it's fine. It's. So basically he gets locked up because, it's pretty obvious that he started the fire, and he is locked up as a child, and he is being released now from jail as like a full-grown adult. And we basically just get some scenes of like, basically his life is pretty shitty because like he's been in jail his whole life and he doesn't really know what to do. So he goes into the hospital, like back to the hospital jail. He's at the jail going to talk to a psychiatrist about like these crayon drawings that he did when he was little. And that seems weird to me, but he's basically just like, yeah, I'm fine now. Don't worry about me. Also, I've decided I want to live in a house. And the psychologist is like, okay. And then we find out that the next, like, that's his second to last, like, psychological appointment, which seems like a bad idea, but, here we are. So he's just kind of, like, walking around the neighborhood, and he sees a house. I assumed that the house was being, like, just finished being built because there was, like, scaffolding on the outside. But it is, like, a huge fucking house. And he sees it, and he's just like, So he literally... This is what bothers me about this, because there's obviously a lot of shit going on with him, right? But it's not just that he, like, got attached to the family and like went into their house and then like lived in a vent, which is like the normal situation with house hiders. This man made a decision to go into the house, go into the attic, and build a wall to make it look like, first of all, like I said, the room is really big. Like he's got like a penthouse going on up there. I don't know how you wouldn't be able to tell it was a fake wall, but anyways, there's a fake wall there. So he has built himself a place to live up there.
The least quiet hider in history.
There's so many times when he's like pacing and they hear it, but then they're just like, rats or something. And I'm like, no. Anytime I hear a single solitary creak, I'm like, there is somebody in my house.
There's
like,
a hider.
There's
a hider in there.
Yeah.
I've got a Gary
he would
Busey
not have gotten away with this. Ugh, even worse. So he builds a wall in the attic, and then I wrote, laughs maniacally. It's the stuff of nightmares, honestly. He basically does more crayon drawings, so maybe those weren't from when he was a child. I don't know. But then the new owner comes. He like hides in his house. He's like spying on her, and she is a beautiful lady looking around. And this is when we're introduced to the family, who is Julie, Phil, Neil, and Holly. Neil and Holly are the two children. So then he also, I was not really sure what the speaker thing was. I thought he built some kind of device that could like listen to them, but he basically can only hear them. I don't know. I thought for the intercoms, this is like such an old school thing though, to have intercoms in your house. I thought that you had to press a button to be able to like talk through and hear, but there are moments where he's listening to people like talk and stuff where they're not pressing the button and he can still hear them. So I don't really understand how that works, but that's the thing, I guess.
Gary Busey is very good with like wiring things, so
I mean, probably. This is when we're introduced to Mr. Rudolph, which is the dog. I'm mad about the dog, just to kind of spoiler alert everybody. So the dog like can sense that he's there, right? And he's like sniffing at the vent and like barking and stuff. And then Gary Busey tries to like stab him with something and also spray like WD-40 on the dog. And I was like, okay, trash. It's one thing to hide in someone's house. It's another thing to
trying to lubricate the dog, making too much noise.
So after the family, so that night he comes out of his little attic house and he like nails some spikes into the side of the house so that he could like climb up into it easier or whatever. So so the family moves in. He's like, there's a lot of moments where he's like standing outside during the day looking in at them like through a window, and I'm just like, how is nobody seeing this happen?
Yeah, that's like weird because it is, and especially with Bruce Glover is like the peeping Tom guy. He would definitely see like call over, right? Like, oh, there's a blonde gentleman like hunched over looking in the window.
Watching you guys feed your fish. He also like climbs in through a window and just like thumps down in there. And this is when Julie, her name is Julie, right? Hears it and she's like, what was that? And the husband's just like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I just like.
He also has a dollhouse.
Like the amount of times that he just makes like, it's literally just like a human being dead weight falling into like the ceiling or whatever, and like Michael McKean's just like, it's probably just the house settling,
just like, creaking, bro. Don't worry about it.
Oh, it was my knee popping. Don't worry about it. Gary Busey has like a model house of the house that he's now living in, and he's like, I don't know,
What the fuck
whittled
did he get that?
figures
I mean, he built it. What
in the house.
what else are you gonna do when you're like in a tiny room spying on the family that moved in?
Yeah.
Putting together
Make
models.
it all.
Arts and crafts.
And then he like whittles like the family, including himself, out of just like regular wood, and he's like, "Here we are."
He sets up an Etsy shop from inside of their fucking attic.
Oh my god, handcrafted goods. Shop local, everybody.
He's gonna do like one of those. He's gonna start a Fiverr account where it's like, if you pay me, I'll come hide in your house and like make sculptures of your family.
Oh my god. Okay. Decides that she's gonna skinny dip in the new pool. Cash, as you do, I guess. And Gary Busey watches her, of course. The fucking face that he makes at this point, anytime there's like multiple occasions where he's peeping on her, like in the shower or whatever, and his face makes me want to jump out of my skin. It's terrible. Also, not only is Gary Busey peeping on her, the neighbor is also watching her skinny dip. And Gary Busey sees it, and they're both just like,
You know what would have really made this movie even better? Is if every time he was peeping, he just went, "Yowza!"
Hachi machi.
They just hear it from up in the attic. I'm like, those rats are getting wild up there.
Yeah. So then Julie, as a housewarming present, gives her husband this like vase that she made, and he's just like, "Oh, cool, thanks, a vase," and she's like mad about it.
What a dick.
I know, this dude just fucking sucks. That's why this poor lady. He's like working all the time, you know. I don't know, whatever. Gary Busey then eats a snowball and some beans out of a can with a big knife.
That was like one of my favorite parts.
What you don't
It's
know,
like-
like that was just him eating off camera, and the director saw it, was like, all right, quick, start
Probably.
filming.
He got it from
Film 'em,
craft
just film 'em.
services.
Can of beans.
I'm just taking a break.
Mr. Rudolph comes back in and is sniffing around, and unfortunately, Gary Busey, at least we don't see it. He basically like opens his little door that he made in his fake wall, and it cuts away, but we hear the dog whimpering. Then at night, oh boy. Then at night, he comes down into the house and like fucks around. You know, he's like drinking their stuff and like touching their papers and shit. And he spills soda on all of Phil's really important plans that he has. The little girl Holly comes out of her room to like get a drink or whatever, and just like sees fucking Gary Busey standing on the stairs.
The most
the
deranged
darkness.
smile on his face. Absolutely murderous.
I don't know how actress like could even bear it. Like, how did she not scream it? She just was kind of like, So she goes to her mom and is just like, "Hey, there's a man. And the mom's just like, "Nah, you were dreaming. Listen, that's another one of the reasons why I can't have kids. Because if my kid came to me and was like, "There's a man in the hallway,"
Just burn the house
my first
down.
thought is like, "Oh, our house is fucking haunted." Like, I don't know.
Here.
There's no way I could just be like, yeah. Bill, I know we just bought the house, but we gotta go. Like, and she's just like, "Go back to sleep." Like, there's no way. I would be up for days if my child said there was a man. So the next morning, the kids are like looking for Mr. Rudolph, and they can't find him. R.I.P. to a real one. Then an exterminator comes. Oh my God, this is when the movie really just takes off. So an exterminator comes, and he's like gonna start in the attic, and he's like talking to the bugs and shit, like, "Oh, fuck," you know, I don't know, whatever he says.
The exterminator. So, it's I didn't catch this the first time I watched it, but I like rewound it and watched it like 5 times the second time. But the exterminator, when he first comes into the house, he's like, "Hey, Marone, what a house!" Like he's extremely.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's got like it's like one of my favorite tropes from movies where it's like an inexplicably Brooklyn character. Like I don't know where this movie is supposed to take place, but he's like. He's super New York City. I don't know. I just thought that was funny.
Yeah, he's another perfect addition to just weirdos in this movie.
So he also like he tells the family that there's rats or whatever. So he's like, I'm gonna spray for rats and bugs. You gotta leave. And she's like, yeah, whatever. So the family leaves. And the exterminator goes up there and is like, I'm going to fucking kill you. Like, whatever they say. And he starts like, oh my God. Meanwhile, this is when Julie's out front, like trying to take the kids to work. And this is when Bruce Glover like shows up and is just like, hey, I don't even know what's happening with this character. He was like very creepy, but he basically was just like, hey, pool's nice, and like stares at her boobs, and she's like, oh my fucking God. It was just so gross.
He brought her a rhubarb pie.
That's right. Made it himself. And then the little girl Holly is like, I'm in kindergarten. And he says, I wish I was back in kindergarten, especially with you. Sir, I don't get the good gross.
Oh, he's fucking killing it, this movie. Like, there's few people you could have cast to out-weird Gary Busey. Either of the Glovers was a perfect choice.
Not expecting it at all because I didn't look at the cast, and I was just like, when he showed up, I was like, what is happening here? Because I was not ready. Like, either one of these guys separately would have been way too much, and together it just was.
I got a spoiler for you for next week. Bruce Glover plays Van Helsing.
Oh my God.
Oh no.
Fucking rules.
Holy shit. Okay. Yeah, so that's a really weird, gross interaction. And so the exterminator starts like fumigating for rats up in the attic, and he's like, Gary Busey is getting like smoked out, but like not in the good way because it's like poison,
maybe that's
like,
what Gary Busey gets high off of. Maybe that's why he's like that.
I mean,
do you think maybe that was actual
me.
like rat poison, and that's what happened to Gary Busey?
What if he requested the actual rat poison?
It was like method acting. Don't be afraid to really get me in the face with it.
I'll put my face by the vent. Gas me. To be totally honest, his like gasping for air situation looked very convincing. So he's like freaking out. He busts out of his little like wall thing and like falls over the exterminator, and the exterminator's like, what the fuck are you doing here? And they fight. But Gary ends up like hitting him, like beating his head in with a flashlight, and then he goes, oh no.
Ironically, exterminates him.
Yes, the exterminator is exterminated. And then in one of my favorite scenes, Gary buries the exterminator in the backyard, and then puts his clothes on and goes to leave with the truck so that like the truck isn't still there. And the creepy neighbor sees him, but Gary Busey doesn't know how to drive because like he's been incarcerated his whole life, so he's like and like being crazy in the truck, and Bruce Glover goes, drunks. It was insane. I think that's probably also just how Gary Busey drives, by the way.
It reminded me of that I Think You Should Leave sketch about the guy that didn't know how to drive.
I don't know what any of this shit is, and I'm scared.
You just want to yell!
Wow. So then Gary Busey drives back to his psychologist. It's his last appointment, and he's essentially just like, so remember that time that I like set my house on fire and killed my parents? Like, I just like don't want that to happen again, you know? And the psychologist is like, yeah, sure. Why would it happen again? He's like, I don't know. I just, if somebody attacked my house, though, I would just have to defend it. And the psychologist is like, yeah. Give me just a second. And he like goes to talk to his boss, and it's just like, I have a really bad feeling about this guy. I don't think we should like cut him loose and just like leave him to his own devices. And the boss is just kind of like, whatever. So they just let him go. He's off the hook. So back at home, he's like creeping on the family, and basically Julia's like saying goodnight to the kids, and one of the kids says, "Night, Mom, I love you," or something, and then he does this thing where he just like repeats what they say over and over. So he's like laying there on the floor in his attic room, and it's just like, "Night, Mom, love you. Night, Mom, love you. Night," and he's like smiling, and I'm like, ugh. So,
I don't see a problem there. That's normal to me.
So this is the next day. Phil, the husband, comes home and is pissed off because part of his presentation's missing and he can't find it. Remember when Gary Busey spilled soda all over the papers? And it was a really big deal. He accuses Julie of like losing and or moving his shit. And she's like, "Why would I do that?" He's like, "I don't know, but my shit's gone." And he is like a dick to her. And they're like yelling about how like, I don't know. He's just basically just like, "I bought you this house and you're not," I don't know. He's just being like a fucking dickhead, right? So then it cuts to them. This really got my blood boiling. So they're having a housewarming party, and Phil like takes his friend aside and is like talking about how he wants to go cheat on his wife, and he says, "I want to do something that's just for me, you know." You slimy. That made me so angry. And the friend is like, "I don't think that's a good idea." And he's just like, "Well, whatever. I'm going to do it anyways." But Gary Busey overhears Phil say that he's going to cheat on Julie. And listen. So
I think I missed that part because I was very confused with the thing coming up where like somehow Gary Busey like knew about it. I must have missed that.
I think he like follows Michael McKean. I can't remember how.
Well, let's see if I wrote it down. I did not. I watched this movie last week, and
same.
I did not rewatch it just because it was 2 hours long. So we'll see. So he basically just like, he overhears like this plan, right? Then he looks outside and sees that Holly, the little girl, is alone outside. Of course, she's bouncing her ball near the pool, like stupid little girls always do, and the ball goes into the pool. She's reaching for it, almost falls in, and he saves her. He also leaves a baggie of Oreos underneath Neil's pillow, which Neil's like, "Score!" And I'm like, ew. What? Why are you eating mystery Oreos? That's so weird.
Oreo fairy.
Yeah, I like waking up and just having some Oreos sitting next to the bed that I don't know how I got there.
Yeah.
I mean, they're good.
Right, I mean...
Still, you just waste Oreos?
So yeah, I don't know.
Katie is anti-Oreo.
I love Oreos. I just don't really know about like mystery Oreos that appear underneath my pillow.
I mean, he probably had them stashed, right? Like he had his secret stash of sweets, as young boys are wont to do.
I thought they were implying that Gary Busey put them there, because then they like cut to Gary Busey like eating the Oreo, like hey.
I thought he like the way I assumed it was like he stole the Oreos from the kid's stash when he was like rooting around. I don't know. I watched this
Maybe.
movie a few
Either
times,
way.
so I put a lot of thought into this.
Both of those options are
Either way.
equally upsetting, I think.
Yeah. Now you got Gary Busey hands all over your secret Oreo stash. I don't know. So I didn't write it. I don't know. Maybe Phil says where he's going to meet the lady. I don't know. Because then I just have Gary Busey leaves the house and calls the house from a payphone pretending to be Phil's coworker in order to get... This is like such a roundabout weird thing too. He goes to a restaurant and leaves a note and says, "My wife Julie is coming. I have to leave. Can you please give her this note?" So he calls from the payphone and is like, "Hey, Julie, this is whatever. I work with Phil and he wants you to come to this restaurant." And she's like, "Oh my goodness." So she goes to the restaurant. The maitre d' gives her the note from Gary Busey that's like, "Hey, come to this hotel room." And so she goes and she walks in on him with like, you know, having sex with a lady. She's like, "Oh no!" And she like runs and goes home. He follows her. They have this huge fight and she kicks him out. Good for her though. Julie's like telling the kids, there's like kind of like a montage sort of like everybody being sad about what happened. Then Julie falls asleep on her bed and Gary Busey comes in and sniffs her and then sits in a chair in the corner and like sighs and just like watches her sleep.
This part was extra weird. Just falling asleep and then woken up by the child like searching for their mother, and he's like, "Ugh, time to scramble. I accidentally fell asleep in here."
Yeah, don't like it. I literally wrote he falls asleep ! So luckily he closed the door though, because the son is like, "Mom, mom, mom," and then he wakes up and is like, "Oh shit." And luckily though, Julie has like a killer hangover, and so she doesn't really seem to see that he's hot. Like she goes into the bathroom and like he's clearly standing in the shower because it's like frosted glass, but you can still see shapes, and he's wearing like black clothes, but she's got a hangover, so she doesn't see it. So then he, I don't know, goes and hides in the linen closet or whatever, and like watches her shower and does the creepy look again. So then Gary goes to the son Neil's school and sees that Neil is being bullied by some kid, and they start fighting. He just like sits there and watches the fight happen until he sees Julie pull up, and then he goes over there and stops the fight. And Julie's like, "Oh my God, thank you." And he's just like, "No prob." And she's like, "Do you have a kid here or something?" He's like, "No, I'm just walking around the neighborhood."
Just passing by.
Yeah, that was one of the weirdest. He's like, "I'm just hanging out by the elementary school."
Don't mind me.
Yeah.
As middle-aged white men are wont to do, you know. Then, in another one of my favorite parts, Gary goes home and writes Julie a letter in which it says, "It was a pleasure meeting you today and protecting your son against the schoolyard bully." Poetry.
Every time I'm like, this part's extra weird, something else pops up that's even weirder.
Right.
Like, that's pretty odd. Oh yeah, he wrote her a fucking letter for stopping a bully from beating the shit out of her son. What the fuck?
Protecting your son against the schoolyard bully. So then Neil is like, you know, kind of just like an angsty little boy. He comes upstairs and is like playing. It comes up to the attic and it's like, the children play in the attic all the time. I have never gone into an unfinished attic and like played with toys, but it happens a few times. He's up there playing with action figures and just like casually sets an action figure on fire, which then catches like the floor and a whole ass chair on fire. And Gary's back there like, oh no, like he's about to come out and do something, but then Julie comes up. Yeah, like what? Also, he's like very, very triggered, obviously, by fire. So he's like kind of having a freak out moment. Julie comes up and like puts out the fire, and then it's just like, what is wrong with you? She's like yelling at him, and he goes, I was pretending they were dead. Wow.
That's when Gary Busey was like, "Oh, this is a kid after my own heart."
Yeah.
Yes,
I have to be part of this family now.
Yeah. I fit right in. Julie's like, no, your dad loves you. We're having a fight, blah, 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 whatever. The next day, Gary Busey comes over to the house, and Weirdo Neighbor is there, and and is gross. And, like honestly, the neighbor really makes Gary Busey not even seem that creepy, and he's living in their fucking house. You know what I mean? Like, he is gross.
Yeah, the neighbor Gene is like he's like worse.
I'll say Gary can at least like almost interact like a normal human being when he's talking to other people.
But
Gene
out.
cannot.
Gary Busey didn't once bring a rhubarb pie over.
Oh, that's a good point.
Weird.
What would you rather have, a rhubarb pie or a miniature wooden carving of yourself and your family?
I mean, the carving, because I don't like rhubarb pie, but...
What if he started scattering the little...
Pie.
Just starts putting like little like wood carvings everywhere.
Little figures, yeah.
I want a rhubarb pie carving of me and my family. Oh my god. So yeah, he's seeing gross. He's like, oh, let me help you with the groceries, and like putting his hand on her butt and shit. I don't know. The exterminator service a week later calls and is like, hey, we can't find the guy, the exterminator.
Is your house really that
And Julie's like,
because we haven't heard from this guy in a week.
Right. Is there a dead guy in your house by chance? Because we're missing one. Julia's face is just like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Hangs up, and it's just like, that's weird. The exterminator is missing. And Gene is like, oh, I saw him leave. And he looked like he was drunk or something. And then Gary Busey basically like scares him off. He's like, you should call and tell them. And he's like, okay. And he goes to the phone and he's like, you should go to your house and call him. So he's like, oh shit. And he leaves. Julia's like, he's trying. Julia's basically just like, oh my god, thank you. That guy gives me such the creep. Gives me the creeps. And I'm like, girl, just wait. Okay. They're like just chatting or whatever, and he's like, oh, what are these potteries? And she's like, oh, I made them. And he's like, well, these are great. These are the best things I've ever seen in my life. So she's like, here, why don't you have this bowl? And he's like, here, have this rabbit's foot. I've had it since I was a kid. And she's like, okay, thanks. Fucking weird. Then Julie's friend Rita comes over and thinks Gary Busey is hot.
Gary Busey was the ideal man in the 80s. So everybody was horny for was Gary Busey.
I mean, he's got strong genes.
That's true.
He has very strong teeth. They're just kind of like chatting and gardening in the back, and they unfortunately find Rudolph.
Not very deep.
No.
Very bad job, Gary.
I thought that they were going to find the exterminator at this point, but it was Rudolph. Julie calls the police, and like, shocker, they're useless. They don't do anything. So later, Gary Busey is just hanging out in front of their house again, and this part is like, so he's like walking Neil home, and Julie comes out and sees them, and Gary's like, hey, like, I know that guy's like bullying you and beating you up and stuff. This is what you want to do. And it starts off kind of heartwarming. He's like, put your dukes up, and he's like showing him how to like defend himself against punches. And then he's like, and then you knee him in the stomach, and then you kick him in the balls, and then you stomp on his face like this. And Julie's like, oh my god.
very aggressively stomping at the head of this small child.
Yeah, it was basically like, here's how you kill somebody.
Yes. And so Julia's like, Neil, go inside. And she's like, that is very inappropriate. Like, do not teach my child how to kill somebody. And he's just like, I'm sorry, my bad. So there's like that interaction. Julie and the kids leave. Gary immediately goes in and like lays on her bed and is like going through her lingerie and shit, typical stuff. He's like shaving in the shower, wearing Phil's robe, like just really, taking a dump with the door open, like doing whatever he feels. He doesn't hear that Rita, Julie's friend, has come in because I think that they were alluding to Julie and the kids going to the grandma's house like for a little bit of time, like Thanksgiving or something like that. And they've asked Rita to like watch the house, and like he doesn't know that. So he comes downstairs and sees her, and they bump into each other, and he's like, Rita's like, what the fuck are you doing here? And he's just like, I live here. And she's like, no, you don't live here. And he's like, I don't know, like, Julie, did Julie tell you about me and her? And she's like, no, what are you talking about? I think you need to leave. They end up struggling, and he breaks her neck. So that sucks. Then we do also find out that, like, Phil has been calling and leaving messages for Julie every day. Like, I'm so sorry, I was a piece of shit. Like, take me back. And Gary's just been, like, deleting the messages. So Julie thinks that she kicked him out, and he just never called, which is...
That's a classic power move on Gary Busey's part.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm impressed he knows how to use an answering machine, to be honest. He also buries Rita in the backyard. I just also don't know how he has now buried 3 bodies in the yard and no one's seen him do that either. But
he's got the grass back there looking normal too. Like, it's fine.
Yeah. Julie and the kids come home, and she's trying to call Rita because, like, Rita was supposed to be there, and then she basically like sees Gary Busey like running past the window and is like, oh my god. He's also dropped a shovel, and she freaks out, and she gets a gun, and she's like telling the kids to lock the windows and everything, and Neil is like, what is he gonna do? Climb the house? And then it like immediately cuts to Gary Busey literally climbing their house. He's up on the roof, and he's like trying to get in through the window, but Holly is up there playing, and Julie comes up and is like, I don't want you playing up here, and like locks the windows or whatever. Also, like, doesn't she think it's weird that like the attic window is wide open? That seems strange to me. I don't know. Then like nothing really comes of it. She doesn't call the cops or anything. It just like switches to the next day at school, and Neil beats that kid up the way that Gary Busey told him to, essentially, including kicking him in the head.
The kid that gets the bully kid really sells it too, because after Neil's walking away, the kid is like lying on the ground twitching. It's like that he's gonna be paralyzed.
Yeah, he got fucking wrecked.
Yeah, give that kid an Oscar. So, oh man, this is when it really ramps up. So Gary comes over and knocks, and he is like trying to get Julie to come to a movie. He's like rehearsed. I feel like I've really just like glanced over all the extras. Like Gary Busey is very weird in this movie, and he does some very extremely weird stuff that we just like didn't even talk about. But he's like rehearsed asking her out, and so he's like, "Hey, will you come to a movie with me?" And she's just like, "Oh my god!" So when Gary Busey was killing Rita, he like knocked over. She kicked the fish bowl and shattered it and like killed the fish. So he replaces the bowl with a new fish, and it's like a fucking huge fish.
It's like the first fish is like a regular cowboy hat, and the fish he replaced it with is a Turd Ferguson style, extremely large cowboy hat.
It's like one of those koi that you get.
Yeah, right. Like a Japanese, yeah.
Obviously not the same fish.
Looking at it, and she's like, "That's really fucking weird." So then when he's like, "Hey, will you go to a movie with me?" Julie is like, "I can't. Like, our fish is different." Like, she's like, her excuse for not being able to go out to a movie is like she can't figure out why the fish is weird.
I
Right?
wish she had said it just like that. I can't go out. Our fish is different.
She like essentially did. She's like, something weird is happening with the fish.
I'm calling into work tomorrow with that. I can't come into work. The fish is different.
Yeah, well, she said it. At first, she was like, because I literally just watched this scene like 5 minutes before Nathan called me, and because she was like, the fish is bigger, and Gary Busey goes, "Well, fish grow," and then she's like, "It's a different color too." Like,
oh my god!
You know what though? Got her there. Fish do grow. Yeah, so she's just like, I don't know, something's weird about my fish. And he's just like, I don't know, maybe your friend like did it. And then she has a moment where she's like, oh no. And she's like, what, my friend Rita? Like, did you see her? And he's just like, no, why don't you go to the circus with me? Because he's like rehearsed asking her out, but like can't process that she has said different things to him. So he's just like saying all the things that he rehearsed. And he's like, why don't you come to the circus with me? And she's like, no, you need to leave. And he's just like, there's a very scary moment where he's like trying to come in and she ends up shutting the door and locking it. But then he's like banging on the door and going, Julie, please come to the movie with me. And he's like freaking out and like going crazy. And it's very scary. Luckily, Phil is a piece of shit, but luckily Phil shows up. And Gary like sees him and kind of like regains composure and like walks by him really slowly, and they're like making eye contact, and Phil goes, an eye for an eye, I see. Like, ew. So I like how Phil's like, Julie, it's me, Phil, let me in. So she lets him in, and Gary immediately like lunges into the bushes. Like he was like walking on the path really slowly, and it's just like so basically Phil is like, I'm sorry, I've been calling you. And she's like, no, you didn't. And they're like screaming, and like she hits him a bunch, and she slaps him. I was like, good for you. But then they both start crying and they hug, and then they start making out, which was a bummer. And then Gary uses his intercom to listen to them have sex, which is also a bummer. And Phil is just like coming back now. The kids are like, yay, Dad. Like he comes out of the bedroom, and the bedroom is like very obviously in shambles behind him. And he's just like, hey, kids. And they're like, Dad, are you coming home? They don't talk like that, but that's,
that's pretty close.
So...
Only when they're worried.
So,
Dad, come back.
The accent comes out, when they're emotional. So he's basically just like, okay, I'm coming back. Like, I have to go to the hotel to get my clothes. Like, do you want to come with me, kids? And they're like, yeah. I don't know why Julie decided to stay home, but basically Gary Busey is upstairs just wrecking up the place, because he's mad. Julie hears it. And like an idiot nonchalantly goes up to the attic. Part of his door into his secret room is like ajar. So she goes in there, she's looking at the room. She finds Rita's bag in there. She finds the bowl that she made that she gave him. And then there's like pictures. This part legit was fucking creepy. So the camera is like, as if it were the wall that Julie's looking at, because there's like pictures of the family with like Phil's head ripped off of them or whatever. And so she's like looking at it, and we see her face, and Gary comes out. It's like blurry because he's in the background, peeks out from around a corner. And I was like, girl, it gave me goosebumps. It was so creepy, his face. Anyways, he comes out and slams the door, and basically just like, why did you take him back? Like, you shouldn't have taken Phil back. And he's like grabbing her and shaking her. And she's basically just like, so she realizes that he's fucking crazy. Like, she already has, right? But now she's like, really, like, this guy's fucking crazy. So she's just gonna try and like calm him down. So she's like, yeah, you're right. Like, I shouldn't have taken him back. And then Gary goes, I could have been the father. And then, like, oh, I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know all the things. He was like, I'm the one that saved Holly from drowning. Julie's like, what the fuck is he talking about? She had no idea. He's like, I'm the one that saved Neil, and I did this for you. And she's just like, I didn't know all these things that you did. When Phil comes back, we'll just tell him he's not needed anymore. And Gary's like, okay, yeah, let's do it. He's like hugging her and like, so they go downstairs basically and like wait for them to get back. He's like holding on to her and like smiling like, yay, everything's fixed or whatever. Phil and the kids come in and Phil is just like, I don't know who you are, but like, this is my house, you need to leave. And Julia's just like, take the kids, he's crazy. So Phil like lunges at Gary. Gary just kicks him in the balls, you know, and
I liked how
Julie over the couch.
I liked how that paid off too. You know, he trained the son to kick the boy in the balls, and then he took his own advice.
Yeah, he's got his fighting style.
Know,
he knows.
It's you know, and I feel it honestly, it's underutilized. So I'm here for it. Then he like backhands Julie over the couch. The kids run next door and are like banging on the door for help or whatever. Gary like takes Julie and like carries her up to the attic room. Oh my gosh. Then he like dumped a bunch of gas all over her, and he's got this lantern and he's just like swinging it around like
I think that's my favorite part in the movie.
Yeah. It's
pretty good. I encourage you guys to look at the GIF because it's pretty great. He's just like, and she's like screaming, right? Because she's covered in gas at this point. Phil comes upstairs to try and like, you know, wrestle with him, I guess. But Gary just like throws him down the stairs. Julie runs. Then I don't know what this was, a fire poker maybe that Gary Busey has, and is like coming down the stairs all slow. He's just like jabbing at Phil with the poker. Then he like raises it above his head, and then it gets shot by Julie.
Should have gave him the possessor.
She's a really good shot.
Yeah. Just knock out all of his teeth. One at a time.
Gross. Mm-mm. He falls down the stairs. I don't know what this note says. So his F face, I don't know what that means. Oh, his fucking face. The expression that he made freaked me out, apparently. He like slumps down, you know, he got shot. And then she does this thing that, you know, is always a bad idea, where she's going to walk up past Gary Busey's body to like get to Phil. And when she walks by, he grabs her. And then he is just like, I'm sorry, I tried to get it to be good, but you were fucking it all up or whatever. And he like puts her head next to his because he's going to like shoot the gun so that the bullet will kill both of them. But then the cops finally come and shoot him in the back. And he dies. And an ambulance comes, and essentially the kids are fine. Phil is like super fucked up, and he's on a stretcher because he's like, come visit me at the hospital. Then it just pans over Gary Busey's gross attic room and everyone leaving the house. And it's the end.
Poor Gary.
I mean, you do kind of feel bad for him at the beginning because, you know, his childhood is all fucked up and everything. But I mean, then like there's that scene where he's rooting around through Mimi Rogers, like sniffing her underwear and stuff. And it's just like, okay, that's that's horrible.
I mean, yeah, hard to parse apart because obviously he is very mentally troubled, and there was a lot of stuff that happened to him, and he was like obviously very failed by the system. I understand this is not a real movie, but the choice to go into a house and build yourself a room, I cannot stand by. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, I wish it wasn't 2 hours long. But there was, I mean, it was good. Objectively.
Yeah, it's totally watchable movie. I suggest everybody take advantage of it being on Prime if you have it.
I hope it
like
gets one of the nice Vestron Blu-ray releases that they've been putting out.
Yeah.
I think it will.
I need
with that cover, but maybe
Vinegar Syndrome like slipcase cover where you just remove it and it's just Gary Busey creeping at you from the
window.
They should do a reboot with Jake Busey.
No, like I'm telling you, like Gary Busey
bring him back.
Reprise that role.
I mean, I haven't kept up with Gary Busey's career, but I mean, he seems like just a wild man.
Oh yeah.
Like, it seems like he'd just like come on the set and scream, or just like tell weird stories and give weird advice like that. That reality show he was on a long time ago.
I think the most recent thing he was doing was it Gary Busey Pet Judge?
What?
There's like an Adult Swim show, I believe. Maybe Comedy Central.
I gotta check that out.
I do remember watching a trailer commercial for it or something.
Let's see. He's apparently on the show Shameless. Yeah, Gary Busey, Pet Judge. The Last Sharknado. He's a voice in Mr. Peabody and Sherman Show. It looks like he does about like one or two things every year, kind of like consistently, whether it's like a TV show or a movie. Oh man, he was in 24 episodes of The Apprentice in 2011.
Yeah, I think that's around the last time I saw him in anything.
God, he was on Celebrity Wife Swap. I have to watch this.
Is he the wife that gets swapped?
Yeah, that would be fucking amazing.
Is he married? Who is he married to?
Somebody.
Oh wait, he was on Dancing with the Stars.
Oh no.
Stephanie Sampson from 2008 to present. I will watch him on Dancing with the Stars.
Yikes.
He swaps wives with Ted Haggard, the founder of New Life Church in Colorado.
Isn't Ted Haggard the guy that was like involved in some sex scandal or something?
In the national headlines in November 2006 when a male prostitute in Missouri, Mike Jones, alleged that Haggard, who had advocated against same-sex marriage, had paid him for sex for 3 years.
Man, I have to see that episode.
Wow.
I believe it's all on Hulu at the moment. Now I know what I'm watching at work tonight.
Yeah, I did. I loved the OG Wife Swap. That was the only sort of like reality show I ever watched. And I did see Celebrity was on there.
The only episode
I never imagined
I've ever seen was the Flavor Flav at D. Snyder Wife Swap.
I've never seen any of the celebrities at all, so I feel like.
Go ahead, kid.
On the regular edition, you got to watch the Balloon Boy. The Balloon Boy's parents were on it.
Oh boy.
They're
wow.
Exactly as weird as you'd assume a family making up a balloon story would be.
I forgot they were a thing. Oh, what a nightmare our culture is.
They're from around here.
Yeah,
general area.
Katie, news.
It's bad.
The only huh?
I said it's bad.
I said it's bad.
I didn't really see too much. One of the things I was really excited about is that I saw they're doing a show called Baking It, and the hosts are going to be Maya Rudolph and Andy Samberg, and I'm so excited. So basically, did you guys ever? So it's on Peacock. They did a show that was called Making It, where the hosts were Amy Poehler, Nick Offerman. So they're doing the same thing where that was crafting. This is baking. Obviously, it's called Baking It, but I'm so excited. He's like a dream host for me, so I can't wait to watch it. I think it premieres on December 2nd. So like I said, that'll be on Peacock. And then I also saw that Kristen Stewart is developing a quote-unquote gay ghost hunting reality show. And I don't know what that means, but I'm very excited to see whatever that is.
Are the ghost hunters gay, or are they hunting gay ghosts? Because one of those is infinitely more problematic than the other.
It's Kristen Stewart and her best friend. So I don't really know anything else about it. I did also see that what was it called? One of the Polonia brothers is directing a movie with his son.
Oh no.
And it's going to be called it's called Sister Krampus. Sister as in like a nun, Sister Krampus. Is
it going to have a Night Ranger song?
I don't know, but I think that's coming out like this year. Most of the news I saw was stuff that's just like for next year at this point, so I don't know.
I think we should have just stuck with all the news is bad.
I'm excited about Baking It.
Yeah, I mean, I'll watch that. I watched Making It just because it was easy background stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I love me a baking competition. I'll watch almost any baking competition. So.
What everybody watch lately? Shayne, you want to talk about the cool thing you went to see yesterday?
Oh yeah, I saw. Yeah, I saw the new Ghostbusters movie, Ghostbusters Afterlife. Yeah, I mean, like, I didn't go into it like, oh, this is gonna be as good as the first one, but it sucks. I don't know. I mean, everybody hated the Lady Ghostbusters movie from 2016, but I don't give a shit what people say. This one is worse. It's like. I mean, for one thing, the 2016 one isn't great, but it had some funny parts. I didn't really find myself bored the way I did with the new one. And there's like no good jokes. I don't know. It's just like, it seems like it's geared towards the kind of like lowest common denominator fans of stuff that they just want to see movie like, oh, this is a reference to the first one. I get this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I could see that.
The first half of the movie is kind of just setting up characters and everything, and then like there's a very particular point it hits about halfway through the movie, and then everything after that is just like stupid fan service bullshit. They basically like recreate famous scenes from the first movie, and it's just like I don't give a shit. I don't know. J.K. Simmons has a cameo in it that's pretty funny, but other than that, the only time I laughed was like a post-credit sequence with Bill Murray and Sigourney Weaver that was a reference to the first movie, and it had nothing really at all to do with the rest of the movie.
I just feel like Ghostbusters is a thing that, like, it's not like something you're going to recapture, and I don't know why they keep trying.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's
lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, I mean the
Wasn't
first
this one like kids too?
Yeah, it's like Stranger Things, but in the Ghostbusters universe. Yeah, I don't know. It's dumb as hell. I don't know. I saw people on like Twitter and shit saying they're like, "Oh, it's so good," and it's like a heartwarming homage. It's just like it's fucking bullshit. It's.
I mean, I think if you look at like the Star Wars discourse over the last however many years since it got like rebooted, like
40.
the ones people love are the ones that's just fan service, and the ones that did something different they don't like. So like it's just the same shit. People just want to watch characters from their childhood do the same shit over and over again for some reason.
Yeah, it's just like, people want to sit in a theater in the audience and be spoon-fed just like dumb bullshit pablum while they just like bark like seals.
Can't wait for...
Tell us how you really feel.
I don't know. I feel like that contingent of fans fucks everything up because they're so loud about everything.
Yeah.
I feel like people are so pissed about the 2016 Ghostbusters that Jason Reitman or the writers and shit were like, oh, we better just pander to this like small contingent of like mouth breathing morons and just like give them a bunch, throw them a bunch of references.
Yeah, I'm never gonna watch it, so.
I don't know.
Me neither.
I rewatched the original when I got home and just like cleansed my palate. But there's like an extended, at the very end, I mean, of course, any big budget movie is obligated to do a post-credit sequence, at least one. There's like an extended one at the very end of the movie that teases more of them. But I don't know.
They're never.
I can't. I would be surprised if that actually happened.
They're never gonna let it die. Like there's a reason they introduced children into it, because now you have fucking 40 years of Ghostbusters movies you can make. Kids throw a cherry so mad.
The cat. I'm trying to ward off the cat from knocking all of my shit over. It's not going well.
Good luck with that. Yeah. Did you watch anything good?
Yeah, I was gonna say, Shayne, did you watch anything like actually good lately?
Yeah, I watched Prisoners of the Ghostland Friday because that came on Hulu or Shudder, and that was good. I mean, it's like Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cage. So yeah, I mean, it's like a post-apocalyptic samurai western, and there's elements of Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome and Escape from New York. So it was basically a movie made out of one of my dream journal. There's like no way I wasn't gonna like it.
Yeah, it rules. It's probably going to be one of my top 3 movies of the year, I think. It was good. Yeah, I was disappointed. Like, I didn't really like Mandy that much, but this is kind of what I like this as much as everybody else liked Mandy. Yeah, it seems to be pretty divisive, or I've seen either people are just like, this fucking rules, or people are just like, this is really bad. Which I don't...
The people that don't like it probably like Ghostbusters Afterlife.
All right, Katie, what'd you watch? What ghost shows have you been watching?
I didn't watch any ghost shows, actually. I watched... Shit, did I even watch anything? I watched... Chris got into the like, beta test for Elden Ring. So, like, that's essentially all we did last weekend. So I didn't really watch anything. And then we watched, like, Forged in Fire. I did watch no, that season's like not on whatever we're watching it on, so I'm gonna have to try and see if I can seek that out. I did watch a perfect holiday film, Night of the Comet.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that movie rules.
I had seen that when I was like younger, and I couldn't remember what movie it was, but I remember, first of all, it scaring the shit out of me, and then also that everything was red, and then I remembered like the girls going to the mall, and I had no idea what the movie was. I just like had a memory of seeing it. So then I was like, I think I watched it on Tubi. I was like going through my Tubi list, and I just was like I'm just like kind of in that mood where I just like don't feel like watching anything. And I was just like, all right, I'm just going to watch it. And then I was just like, oh my God, this is the movie. And it's like very not as scary as I remembered thinking it was, of course. But I still really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's fun. People should watch Night of the Comet. I used to own a 35 millimeter print of it.
That rules.
Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't remember that it's like definitely a Christmas movie, so throw that into your Christmas rotation.
Kit, what about you?
I watched a wonderful Canadian slasher called Bloodhook.
Oh yeah.
Blind bought that from Vinegar Syndrome. A+ purchase.
I used to own a very terrible looking trauma release of that.
That does not surprise me in the least. And then I watched Sorority Row from 2009. It's also known as I Know What You Did Last Semester.
I've never heard it referred to as that. That's way better.
Like 10 minutes in, I was like, we're just doing I Know What You Did Last Summer, but bad in a sorority. Got it.
Oh man.
It is pretty amazing watching this guy just straight up murder someone by cramming a tire iron through their chest.
Oh hell yeah.
Ooh.
In incredible strength.
I have watched nothing but Italian cinema since we last recorded. Mostly good.
What have you given up on
Oh yeah, I had like Asylum is done for a while. That fucking Sunday school musical ruined me. It's
Shayne, did you watch it?
Yes, he did.
I watched part of it, but I tapped out after. I don't even remember. It was unbearable.
Yeah, I finished it, so
I can't imagine watching that entire movie. It's just like the weird audio shit was just so jarring, and then, oh man, it was so bad.
I'll get back to Asylum at some point, but I needed a break for the rest of the year. So I watched The Beyond, The House of the Laughing Windows. I watched Black Sabbath for the first time, which ruled.
Oh man,
so good.
it's a good one.
I watched Killer Crocodile and Killer Crocodile 2, both of which rule.
Are they as good as Alligator?
They're better, I think. Actually, I
An OG Alligator?
Infinitely better, because you see a shit ton of people get eaten in them. The only thing Alligator has on them is that fucking the wedding crashing scene.
I would say, how many limos get destroyed in it?
But these are both pretty much like just straight up like Jaws ripoffs, just in like the Bayou or fucking whatever instead. And I highly recommend. I think they're either on Arrow or Tubi right now. I can't remember, but they're great. I watched a Joe D'Amato nunsploitation movie called Covenant of Sinners, which was fine. A Lizard in a Woman's Skin, which rules. Zombie 4 After Death, which rules. I watched The Stendhal Syndrome, which is growing on me. It's not great Argento, but it's passable.
Doesn't top Brad Dourif losing his head.
No, we'll get to that. I watched Massacre in Dinosaur Valley, which was really stupid but fun. I watched Fulci's Enigma, which kind of slaps and has a scene where somebody just gets fucking somehow
devoured by slugs. Yeah.
I watched The Black Cat by Fulci, which I had never seen. which is somehow a Poe adaptation I don't understand. Zombie 3. Then I watched Eaten Alive, the fucking cannibal movie, which is trash. I also watched Cannibal Ferox, which is also trash. Cannibal movies, not good. A lot of fucking animal deaths in all of them, and I'm not into it.
They got to the pig stabbing in that one, and I was like, all right, I'm turning this one off.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah, cannibal movies are rough.
I had seen Cannibal Holocaust from just when I was a teenager, and I was just like, well, I'm like watching these movies. Maybe I'll give I've never seen these. I'll give them a chance. And I was like, nope, this sucks. So I think I'm done with cannibal movies forever. I watched Black Sunday for the first time, which also fucking rules. And a Stage Fright, which just features the fucking absolute coolest shit ever of the dude in the owl head with a chainsaw. That movie fucking rules. I don't know why it took me so long to watch it.
Now you gotta watch the one with Meatloaf.
That.
Wait, Meatloaf?
Oh man,
what'd Meatloaf do?
I don't know if it was even a remake or anything, but there was a movie called Stage Fright from like 2014 with Meatloaf in it.
It's, I think, supposed to be a loose remake. I haven't seen it, but the general idea is the same as the 80s Stage Fright.
I'm in. I'll watch something with Meatloaf in it.
It's on Tubi.
Of course it is. I rewatched
the regular Stage Fright's on Tubi also, because I did actually watch that like a couple weeks ago, and I totally forgot that I watched it.
I rewatched Demons and Deep Red. Then I got to Brad Dourif getting his head knocked off by an elevator with Argento's trauma. Not
terrible movie, but that shit ripped.
Not a fan of Argento collaborating with his daughter in weird ways. Like her playing a 16-year-old and being topless. Not my favorite.
Not my favorite.
I watched City of the Living Dead, which fucking rules. I watched Ghost House, which is pretty decent, like Italian ghost movie. And then I watched Hands of Steel by Sergio Martino, which I can only describe as like over the top meets Mad Max, I guess. It's very fucking weird, but it's got a dude with a cyborg hand that at numerous times arm wrestles people. So that sounds like a shit. Definitely watch that. I watched next week's movie, Die Hard Dracula, which I can't fucking wait to talk about. I watched Nosferatu in Venice again, and then I rewatched Suspiria and Inferno. And some shitty fucking Fulci Western movie that I was not into because Westerns are bad. And that's it. I was just drowning out fucking retail work with Italian movies at work every night. Alright, shout outs. Katie.
Waffle House.
Hell yeah. Good call.
Unexpected.
Oh man, I used to, like, in high school, my friend and I, like, our entire senior year, every Friday would go to Waffle House and eat so much fucking food before school every morning. Or every Friday morning.
We have eaten there a lot since we moved here. We ate there this morning, and I got the blueberry nougat waffle, and it's like one of the best things I've ever eaten in my entire life, and I'm obsessed with it.
R.I.P. Katie's insides.
Honestly.
What about you, Kit?
Everyone who has to work retail, for the next month. That shit fucking sucks. So
not great.
Good luck.
I don't recommend people do it.
No, just fucking walk out. Fuck it.
Shayne, you want to shout something out?
I don't know. Shout out to that new Kid Rock video. Don't tell me how to live. where he's just mad for no reason, and the lyrics are just like a conservative dad's Facebook post.
The Weird Al tweet about it.
Yeah, that was perfect.
Great.
Fucking got his ass.
Because the video looks like one of those shitty SNL video parodies, except it's not. It's real.
It's what a time to be alive.
Yeah, and he does that thing. He does that thing where he's rapping and he rhymes like half a dozen words that all sound the same. He just says words that sound the same because he's bad at rapping.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's really funny.
It's very funny that like people were excited that he's gone back to like pretending he was a rapper.
Yeah, he's back to the rebel without a whatever. I don't fucking know. Kid Rock is dumb as shit.
My shout out,
I agree,
is Big E's wrestling gear for Festivus.
That fucking Festivus jacket, incredible.
Nothing is as funny as having fucking until you can pin me, Festivus is not over on your ass as a wrestler. Also, his fucking other gear with the fucking this just says Spongeworthy on the side.
Yeah,
fucking genius. And then I was like the on his hip it just says "Giddy Up." What a king.
Ew.
All right, next week watching Die Hard Dracula, or which unfortunately,
D-Hard.
yeah, which is unfortunately Die Hard Dracula because it's supposed to be German. Dracula
Sad.
is not.
Oh no.
Not John McClaning anybody in this movie.
Bummer.
Dracula stuck in a hotel.
Like when I first came across the poster on Letterboxd, I was like, I'm fucking in on whatever Die Hard Dracula is, and I was like reading about it. I was like, oh, it's supposed to be German. It's not as cool.
Shit.
But it rules. There's Bruce Glover playing Van Helsing, the ugliest Dracula you've ever seen. Some pretty sick, because it's a shot on video or whatever movie from the 90s. There's just incredible special effects in it, including fake
The
bats.
poster.
It's fucking so good.
Someone just did like one of those awful crushed velvet paintings and decided that was the poster for it.
It low-key,
amazing.
It's definitely not my favorite movie we've done this year on the podcast, but it's up there. It's really bad, but in a great way. So that'll be next week. That's on YouTube. You can watch it for free. You can what?
I was gonna say I like that Dracula looks like fucking oh god, I just blanked on his name. Marlon Brando in fucking Island of Dr. Moreau.
It's very funny because like it's essentially just somebody who was just like, well, I have a house I could shoot in. I could probably make Bram Stoker's Dracula.
We need more of that spirit.
Yeah.
Infinite respect.
Do we?
Yes. You wait till you watch it. You're gonna be like, I need more of this.
Okay.
You can support us by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/IOPSufferPodcast. I don't know when this comes out, but we'll have a David Arquette bonus episode sometime around it. Buy merch at our storefront tier and Teespring shops. Leave us a rating and review on iTunes. Tell us your favorite room Gary Busey could hide in your house.
You can hide in the fireplace.
Yeah. Follow us on Instagram at I Hope You Suffer Podcast. Follow Kid at Hidden Kitstery. Follow Katie at Werewolf Face. You can listen to my other podcast, Nate Kate Movie Club. Shayne, do you want people to follow you anywhere?
I mean, they can follow me on Twitter. I don't know. You can follow me at Metal Shayne 2000. I don't know. I've been trying not to post as much.
Yeah, at this point I just
Same.
jump on Twitter and I'll like post something and immediately log off because
Yeah.
it's a hellhole. Everything's bad. All right, Shayne, thank you for watching Hider in the House 2.5 times.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me. I'll probably watch it again tonight.
Hell yeah.
Just for the fun of it, because Gary Busey is hiding in my heart.
Same. All right. I hope you hide but Gary Busey. I don't know, nothing.